right, everybody. For those of you who don't know, my name is Michael Forrest, and welcome to I Am Possible. All right, now before we get going, I'm going to ask if you could all not send me any text messages during this performance because, well, when you're up here and you're performing and you're running things like this and you get a text message, it's like getting hit in the, face with like a wall, and it can really throw you off. So if you save like any of those, like, text messages towards the ends, I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you notice this top step here, if you kind of stay clear of this area, this way nobody blocks the display here and it gives me a room to move around, do the whole hosting thing, right? In addition to that, you're going to notice that there in your menu wheel at the very top of that's a microphone icon, right? And when that microphone icon is clear, that means we can hear you and everything that's happening around in your environment. But we've gone ahead and we've turned that to red, and this means you're muted. So if somebody comes in your space and says, "Hey, are you still on that thing?" Feel free to answer them because we're not going to hear that. Likewise, if maybe you have like a dog in your environment, you're not going to starts barking or something. You're not going to face social ruin by becoming known as the avatar that started barking during I Am Possible, right? Now, just because you're muted does not mean you can't express yourself. You're going to notice in your menu wheel you have a pink cheek smiley face. And when you click on that, your emoji panel is going to open up right in front of you, and it's going to give you a wide variety of options with which to express yourself. So say somebody tells a really moving, powerful story here today, and it touches you down deep, right? What are you going to do when it builds up? You're going to let it out. You're going to let it flow. You're just going to let it loose, right? And then maybe, somebody tells a story that's exciting, right? Where they swung across some quicksand, like Tarzan style, and you're very impressed. You can throw up the applause like that, and they'll feel appreciated and welcome. It's a good thing to do. Also, you're going to notice that, maybe, they tell a story that resonates with you. Want to show them you're smiling. You can do that. This is also another way to say yes. You can also throw down these frowns here because it's a sad tale. It's kind of sad. It's bringing the mood down. We're going to want to make it cheerful, right? And then maybe you can throw this one up if the silly one, if you want to show them that you're laughing because maybe it's a funny story, right? And then there's this thing. This is by far the most, distracting of all the emojis, right? I think we can agree on that. You have a giant hand above your head, right? It's very strange. And, you're going to use this not to ask questions, not to get on the list, but you're going to use this to get my attention in the event that something goes wrong, right? So you're going to use this in the event that, like, maybe I look like I'm waving my hands around. You're like, wow, that guy looks like he's really talking, but there's no sound coming out. That's where you'd want to use it, right? Or maybe, the moderators have had enough of me. They've been the one I Am Possible too many, and they decided to burn down the set, and they like this display behind me on fire. And I know we really should have rethought this slide with the flames coming up because I do that bit a lot. But yeah, that's the kind of thing you're going to want to let me know about. If I see, that's going to be our agreement, our pact, between me and you, the audience. But you know what? If we should happen to go through this and, we only see one hand go up, well, it might be somebody messing around like Zoom Void. You're going to want to kind of move down there, kind of coming up, and you kind of throw me off a little bit. You want to step back just a little bit? That'd be cool. Could you do that? Or just put the head down? All right. You can stay where you are. That's cool. I'm going to go stand over here. All right. Let's see. Who else we got? God, really? That's kind of an honor. Listen, wait, before I get going, God, I got a question. Explain the platypus. I need to know. Maybe after you can see me explain it to me, I'd appreciate it. All right. So anyway, basically, yeah, this hand emoji here, this is a way to get my attention if something goes wrong. If I see one go up, I'm going to keep on going. If I see five, I know there's a problem I need to address, right? Likewise, you're going to see an X in the middle of this panel. This will close it, but it's a good idea to leave it open. It's a great way to provide me and others feedback. And more importantly, it lets those around you know what you're experiencing. So if the person next to you starts going like this, that means they find something funny, right? And you may not agree. You might be like, that's not funny at all. I'm going to go stand over here. I don't know what that guy's laughing at. And you can do that because this is VR. You can pretty much stand wherever you want, except maybe in front of the display like we discussed. All right, cool. All right, so let's get going. Now, this is I Am Possible. What is I Am Possible about? Well, I Am Possible is an event where we are going to trade stories with each other, stories about how you or someone you know, or maybe a story that you read or something you saw in a movie, where somebody, yourself or anyone really, overcame incredible odds, right? Or even, just basically did something that you yourself or the ones around you didn't think you could do, right? Where you actually, did what you thought was impossible, right? That's the kind of stuff we're going to want to hear about today, right? And to give you, and again, it doesn't have to take place in the real world. It can be something that happened in VR, right? Like the world that you're standing in. We call this the Ravenhall Forum, right? And this world was built entirely on an Apple iPad and an old laptop that couldn't run Unity for more than 15 minutes. And when we were building it, we said impossible a bunch of times. But now we can gather here under the stars, right? And we can, trade stories in this space together because we kept on pushing, because every time we heard that word impossible, we kept on going, right? Because that's what we did, right? And there's a bunch of things on the set here that, we didn't think we could do that we pulled off. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Now, before we set out, I'm going to tell you guys how I got started with this word, all right? When I was a kid, there was this one summer, where there was these kids, a big group of them about, 2 to 3 years older than me, right? And every single day they would chase me down in this alleyway, right? And they would beat me up every day. And every day I would try to fight back and I tried to run, but they kept saying this word over and over again, this word that I thought I knew what it meant. They would tell me, don't run, it's impossible, right? They would tell me not to fight back because it was impossible, right? And you know what? I kept on trying, right? And after a while, though, you started to believe them because, I thought I knew what the word meant, right? And then one day, at the time, my daddy owned a bar, right? And one day, a man comes into the store with a shopping bag, and he sits down, he has a couple of drinks, and when he goes to settle the bill out, right, he picks up that shopping bag, and he said, asked my dad, he says, do you have any kids at home? And my dad says, oh, yeah, I got about two boys. I got two boys at home, right? And he says, well, give them this. They'll probably enjoy it. He picks up the shopping bag and he puts it on the bar and he slides it across, right? My dad looks in and he's thinking, this is going to be the biggest tip I ever got, right? He's probably thinking it's a bag of money. And he looks in and he sees a stack of these Batman comics, right? So my dad brings them home and he slides one under my bedroom door, like late at night. And I got it in the morning. I look at it and I didn't read this like a kid reads a comic book, okay? I read this like it was an instruction manual, right? This was like a how-to book. This was going to change everything. So I took a backpack and I modified it. Right on the side panel there, like I put a drawstring on the bottom and I filled it with these glass marbles and I went out, doing about my kid day, right? And then those police saw me and they ran me down that same alleyway. And this time I reached back and I grabbed on that drawstring really hard, right? And you could hear like the glass marbles clatter on the pavement behind me, and I kept running. Except this time I made it further than I ever made it before. I made it to the garages, and then I made it to this wall, and I scrambled up the wall, and I went on the garage, and I looked down the alleyway, and you know what I saw? I saw all these kids still on the ground. They kept trying to get up, and every time they tried to get up, they'd fall back down, and it was like out of a movie, and I just started laughing because it looked funny, right? I was giggling. I was rolling around on the garage roof, and I was looking, and you know what happened, right? I stopped laughing because it suddenly realized that I had done what they said I could not do. I had done the impossible. I had done with that, right? And then I realized this word doesn't mean what people think it means, right? And now the statute of limitations is up. I can make a confession. Right? That day I went to the library and I found every dictionary in the building, right? You know what I did with it? Right? I looked up the word impossible in every single one. And you know what I did? I crossed it out in every single dictionary in that building. I just blacked it out with marker, right? Because I thought, this was a dangerous word, right? Because this was a word that just meant you haven't done it yet, right? And that's basically what impossible is. And ever since that day, every time I encountered that word, I try to keep on going through it because you know what? It's really, when we first started doing this event, it was a one-time thing, okay? And, we learned during that event that it's not the word itself that matters. It's our relationship to it. And every time I do one of these things, I learn something new from the audience. So I just kind of kept on doing it, And that's what we're going to do. What we're going to do now is we're going to open up the audience to raise their hand. If you look on your lower right, you're going to see, as if by magic, a raise hand button appear. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is, since pauses are the natural enemy of the All Space event host, what we're going to do is we're going to wait for that to fill up. Right. And if nobody has anything they want to add or no story, that I'm going to keep on going because we can't do these pauses, but we will be taking them like in between. So when somebody finishes a story, we'll look on the panel and we'll see if we got anybody else. But right now, we're going to start out with somebody named Davey V or Davey. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you're on the air. Are you out there, Davey? Where are you? I don't see you. Nice crowd today. Where are you? There we go. No? Oh, you're up on there. Don't jump. Davey, what's up? You got a story for us?
I don't exactly know what the story is about.
Okay.
Not here.
Okay.
The only thing I heard.
So you volunteered to tell a story, but you don't know what it is about. Okay. I'm lost. How do you mean?
What story am I supposed to tell?
Anytime, right? That we'll come back to you, give you some time to think about it, right? But the general purpose is going to be that anytime that you have like a story that you want to share that is like you overcame the impossible, you did something you didn't think you could do. Maybe you know somebody who like, there's no way you're going to be able to jump that fence, and then they jump that fence, right? That's the kind of thing, right? So I'm going to take you off the air now, give you a little bit of thought, and if you think about it again, just press that raise hand button. And if you do share a story today, please know that we do film our events, so there's a good chance this will end up on YouTube. And if you kind of overshare and you're like, I maybe shouldn't have said that, my mom might see it, right? What you're going to want to do is like, maybe see me after the event and let us know not to air it, and we'll make sure that we cut it out, okay? All right, that'd be a good way to do that. All right, now let's see. We also have Polo Day 1. Polo Day 1 on the air. Where are you, Polo Day? I don't see you. Where are you? Polo Day 1. Going once? No? Not happening? Okay, wait. I hear it. Where are you, Polo? Coming from this way. There you go. What's up? You have a story for us? Whoa, too close. No? Okay, that's cool. All right, let's see. We're going to take you off the air because we're distracted. All right. Now we have Bernash. Bernash, you're on the air. What's up, Bernash? Yeah, he's smiling. Okay, you're not on the air. Okay. Just to be clear, the purpose of this raise hand button is if you want to share a story with us today where you or somebody you know overcame difficult odds, okay? If you have anything like that, press that raise hand button and we'll get you up here. And in the meantime, since there's nobody on on the list anymore, what I'm going to do, because like I said, we got to keep it, going between the pauses, right? So I'm going to share another one. And again, I'm going to ask if everybody can stay clear of this top step here, because this way, I got to see a lot of people are, ramming into me, and that can really kind of throw me off when you get this close, right? So we don't want to be doing that. All right. So everybody can just stay a little bit clear. All right. This next one is going to be about the, actually, Delighted, you're on the air. You got one for us? What's going on, Delighted? Where'd you go?
Yes. Should I stay here or I stay here?
Everybody, show me some emojis for Delighted. Does this guy not have the most awesome radio DJ voice you've ever heard?
Sweet.
All right. If anything's I.M.POSSIBLE, it's him.
You are,
well,
let me say so the phrase I.M.POSSIBLE I first heard in the late 90s when there were things called the AIDS rides.
Oh, yeah.
The AIDS rides were fundraising rides to raise for various AIDS campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
And I did one that was the AIDS vaccine ride in Alaska from Fairbanks, Alaska to Anchorage. So in August, and on the brochure, Alaska in August is green and beautiful. On the actual ride, it was mind-blowingly cold and icy. And day 4 of the ride included a 4,000-foot climb up the side of a mountain.
Wow.
It was I forgot, 4,000-foot climb up the side of a mountain in an ice storm.
Wow. Okay.
So to say that it was challenging is certainly an understatement. And I was going to do it, and the people were dropping out right and left, but I was going to do this thing. But finally, and so there were buses along. It was an organized ride, so there were buses. If you wanted to just get out, you could just go and get on the bus, and they would drive you to the next camp. But
okay.
I was determined. So and actually, I realized it didn't. So what happened was some friends of mine I was riding with. They said, "Forget it. We're out of here. We're not doing it." They get onto the bus, and they're about to give up. And they see riding by, there was what they call the positive peddlers, who are people who are HIV positive who are still doing the ride. They get on the bus, they'd given up, and then they see these positive peddlers riding by, people who were HIV positive and still riding and hadn't given up. And that shamed them into getting off the bus, getting back onto the trail, and finishing the 4,000-foot climb in the ice storm.
Wow. Sounds like a really tough odds there, too.
It was tough odds, but they did it. We all did it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, too, is if you don't think you can do it, sometimes all you need to do is push yourself a little bit, and you keep on going. Actually, before we do the next one, I'm going to share one quick one, because this is one of my favorites. I want to make sure, since we've got a crowd, I want to make sure I get this one out, because it's one of my favorite stories. Back in the early days of the U.S., right, there was this miner, and he came into possession of a gold mine, right? And, a miner coming into possession of a gold mine, it's unthinkable, right? But that's what happened. And, this guy he would work this mine every single day. He kept working it, and he kept trying. And at the end of every day, he'd go into town, he'd go to the saloon, and he'd go in and drink, in a saloon there. And every day this man would come up to him and offer to buy mine from him. And every day the man, he would say, "There's no way I'm selling. I know there's gold in there. I can feel it in my bones," right? And so we kept going, and he kept working at mine every single day. And every time he came into that saloon, he was a little bit more beat up, he was a little bit more haggard, he's worn down, and the guy would come up to him and ask him, "You want to sell the mine yet?" And he's like, no. But then the miner had one of those days, and you guys know what I'm talking about. You've all had them, right? Where, his pickaxes were broken, his fuses were wet, nothing was going right. And he comes into that saloon at the end of the day, and the man came up to him, and before he could even ask, right, he was like, "You know what? I'll sell you the mine. You can have it." Right. And he gave him a good price too. Right. And a few days later, the miner comes into the saloon, and you know what happened? Right. That guy he sold the mine to, he was celebrating. He was buying everybody drinks. He was really lit up. He was all happy. So the miner approached him. And he says, "What's the occasion?" And the guy says, "Well, that mine you sold me, right? We hit gold." And the miner's like, "Oh, you got to tell, how close was I?" And the guy says, "Well, I only dug about 3 feet." Right. And the miner, he was upset to hear this. Anybody would be, right? But for the rest of that miner's life, every time he felt like giving up, every time he didn't think he could go on, he would always tell himself, "I'm 3 feet from gold." And those words, 3 feet from gold, is something I say a lot, because I tell this story often. And you know what? A lot of times it's like that. Right when you're about to quit, that's about when you're about to turn it around, and you're about to win. That's when you're about to do the impossible, right? And that's the best feeling, when you do something you didn't feel like you can do. All right, we got Elle on the list here. Elle, you have a story you want to share with us today? Where are you, Elle? Let's see, where'd you go? There you are. Hey,
I
Al,
do
how's it
have a
going?
story over here. How's it
Hi.
going?
Oh, we'd love to hear it. You want to come up here so everybody can see you? Come on up
Sure.
like this way, This way you can feel all space famous. You'll be on YouTube. Tell your
Ooh,
friends. All right, cool.
okay.
What's up?
So I'm a nurse, and a few years ago, I was,
Wait.
I'm a,
Did you say you were a nurse?
yeah,
I want to thank you for everything you guys are doing during this difficult time. It's very brave. Just want to get
thank
that out.
you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I work in a dialysis clinic, which is, for the most part, my patients are pretty stable, like not a huge amount of emergencies happen. So a few years ago, uh, one of the patients had went unconscious, and I went to go investigate him, and he actually wasn't breathing, no heart rate. So we had to do CPR on him. And I was working in a very urban environment, and that ambulance, like they called 911, the ambulance did not come for a good like 8, 9, 10 minutes. So I'm just sitting there on the floor with this man, just pounding away on his chest, doing the chest compressions.
Wow.
He's out for a long time. Ambulance finally comes, takes him out to the hospital because we don't have the facilities to like treat such a problem. And despite him being gone, like no pulse, not breathing, not responsive for a long time, that man walked back into our clinic in like a week. He just came right back. And, it's one of those things where he gets shipped off and you're like, oh, I don't know, I don't think he's gonna make it, but he really did. And it wasn't just me, obviously it was like my whole team and everybody, but yeah, I brought the man back
Wow.
from the dead, so that's kind of cool.
Good for you. That is awesome. That is really cool. Sometimes you hear those stories like that, like the medical ones too. I mean, doctors, I'm telling you, they see miracles like that like all the time. And like my own mom, she had heart attack years back, and the doctors told us, prepare herself. She wasn't going to make it, and she was going to lose her kidneys. Not only did she make it, but she got to keep her kidneys too. All right, she's and that was just very cool to see that happen. And that kind of thing can happen. All right, so listen, we don't have anybody else on the list, right? So I'm going to tell another one. And this one, I've been saving this one up. We got a big enough audience. I'm gonna share this. I talk about this in some of my other events too. In one of my events, if you've been to them, you hear I talk about how I've been in bed for the past like year and a half or so, right? And I say it's getting a lot better, right? Well, a couple of years ago, right? Actually, longer than that. It's about 5 years now. I was living in Brooklyn, and I was living in an apartment, right? And in this apartment, I started getting a little bit more, confused every day, right? And I was running a business at the time, and suddenly I didn't know how to check anymore. Something was going on, and my family, they noticed I was acting really strange, and they got me out of there, right? And there was something different. My mom said it was like a presence, and when you went into the apartment, it was like something in the air. You could tell it was like there was something weird about it. It's hard to explain it, but what happened was, I'm not talking about like ghosts or anything like that, nothing like that, right? But you could just tell that the air was weird, right? And it wasn't even that it smelled; it was just different. So they had the air tested, and it turned out that only 10% of the air sample, right, was actually oxygen, right? The rest of it was comprised of two of the deadliest molds known to man, right? You have ever heard of black mold, right? Stachybotrys or aspergillus. It's two of the most dangerous, right? And I had been living in that for years, many, many years. And as soon as I got out, my body started to say, all right, no more, let's get this out, right? And I got very sick. I started getting dizzy all the time, right? I felt like I was going to fall over. I was confused, and my heart would go very fast without slowing down, all right? And so, I moved out of there. I moved to Pennsylvania, and it was a real rough ride. The first year I was like on the floor, right? And I thought I was going to die, right? And I kept saying, I'm not going out like this. I got to see how it ends, right? And I kept saying that whole thing, 3 feet from gold. And I kept repeating that I.M.POSSIBLE thing. And I kept pushing myself no matter what. I kept pushing myself. And then one day my parents got me, and like they got me an iPad, right? With a pencil, and that, kept my mind active, by staying in. But I knew this wasn't looking good. And I thought if there was only some way I could push myself in a safe way. And a lot of you know this from this whole, sheltering in place and the whole social distancing where you're staying at home. You probably experienced what I went through back then, where you're starting to lose track of the days, right? You don't know what day it is. I went through that, and I needed some way to kind of build myself up. And then I saw an advertisement for the Oculus Go, right? And I came into Allspace, right, because I've been reading about it, and it seemed like a cool place. And I started volunteering, and suddenly I had somewhere I needed to be. You got to be here at, Friday at 2 o'clock. You got to be there. People are dependent on you. And there were people in the audience. You see all the people here today? They're showing up, right? You don't want to let all these people down, right? So you got to all of a sudden be very aware of the time, right? And the first time I performed in Allspace as a host, right, the whole time my heart was going so fast, because of nervous, but because of my condition, my heart rate had no breaks, right? My heart would go for like 20 hours and not slow down, right? So the first time I presented, it was like just beating out of my chest, and I could barely talk. I mean, my poor audience, I was going, the whole time, right? And, I got better, like a lot better. I practiced it, and I got used to doing this, right? And I got very involved in the community, and I kept doing this kind of thing, and I got very busy. And then being needed, being useful was the best medicine, right? But I wanted to build some stuff. Like we built this forum space here for you guys, and we kept building things like this, but we want to do more. So we got a computer, but to use a computer, it kind of helps if you're sitting at it, right? So now I had to get out of the bed, cross the room, sit at the desk, and I had to find a way to be there all day. And at the first time I did that, it was hard, right? I felt like I was going to fall out of the chair, but I kept pushing myself all the time, right? And you know what? Then when the Quest came out, anybody play that Beat Saber, right? I started playing Beat Saber every day. And a couple of times I felt like I was going to fall, but I kept on pushing myself, right? And it turns out I've got like a lot more mobility just by the nature of pushing myself. All right. So if anybody's going through anything like this, where if you're facing like a difficult relationship, or maybe you're facing a difficult assignment at work or at school, don't ever give up. All right. Now, while I don't believe in the word impossible, I do believe in all of you. Keep that going. Now I'm going to show you guys something else that we once thought was impossible. All right. We really did. All right. These two buttons here, right? These two buttons here, they each do something. The one that we're going to use today is going to bring in a Ravenhall Talon hovercraft, right? And that's like a ship. It's a hovercraft. It's like a plane kind of. It's going to come up over this wall, and it's going to fly over the forum, and it's going to touch down on that landing pad right there, right? And it's going to take us all over to the Ravenhall Flight Academy, where if you guys want to learn how to fly, you want to hang out, that's what we're going to do. All right, going to check that out. But before we get going, I want to ask you guys, if you enjoyed today, if you like our content and all, please go to altvr.com, right? And when you're there in the upper left, you're going to see the word channels. And if you click on that, you're going to see all these Allspace event channels, right? And you'll see Ravenhall events among them down toward the bottom, like it says on that back wall there. And when you click on this, you're going to see the most important button on the internet, and that's the subscribe button. If you press the subscribe button, it lets Allspace know that you enjoy our content, so we keep putting on events like this, right? And we don't get paid to do this. So every time we see that number go up, it makes us feel good. It's a great way to say thank you. There's also a join Discord button there too. If you want to say hello, or you have any questions for us, you want to help us put on events like this, it's a great place to check that out. All right. But that being said, we are going to press this button now, right? So let's see, we're going to press this. And again, direct your attention over to that wall right there, and you'll see this happen here. So here we go.
Ravenhall Talon aircraft en route to your position. Please stay clear of the landing pad. Thank you.
Gonna unmute everybody. There we go. All right, cool. So it's coming up now. And again, you can fly these ships if you want to try them. All right, just by coming with us over to the Flight Academy, you can give these thing a thing. What'd you say? Blaze? How's it going, Blaze? What's going on? Let's head on out. Come on, everybody, come up to these stairs here, and then we'll go on up and meet it. All right, and everybody, thank you for coming. We really had a good time today. All right.
Talon aircraft is now boarding for transport to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. Please step into the blue light. Thank you.
All right, everybody. I'll see you there. Thanks for coming. See you next time.